What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is JU with goldmines.com. And I just wanted to talk briefly. I'll try to keep this video as short as possible about the upcoming Danny Garcia versus Keith Thurman fight coming this Saturday, March 4th. Um, First of all, this is the first quick breakdown I'm going to do of the day. There's a lot of fights this weekend. I don't know how much I'll touch on every fight, but I definitely, I've been this is one of the first videos I ever put up was the announcement of this Danny Garcia versus Keith Thurman uh video I did that while driving once I heard about it. So definitely been very excited for this fight. And it is literally, on the horizon now. So I just kind of wanted to touch on the fight, some of the things leading up to the fight. I literally just got finished watching the Danny Garcia undefeated like short documentary by Echo TV, which you can find on YouTube, which was a cool little video, man. It was just a little like behind the scenes footage. Angel Garcia, Danny Garcia, kind of just talking about where they're at mentally for the fight and so on and so forth. And of course, it's just Danny Garcia, so definitely highlighting him. And I definitely found it interesting. But it's on the Gold Mines website. If you don't know the Gold Mine website, that's www.goledminds.com. Of course, the link is down below. But I just really look. I'm really just going to give a quick synopsis of this fight and kind of what honestly how I've been feeling just definitely in the last like week or two. Um, and so I'll just kind of put it out there. I'm first of all, I'm a fan of both fighters. I do really like Keith Thurman, and I do really like Danny Garcia. A lot of people seem to hate on both of these guys for whatever reason, and that's just boxing, or the fight game even, right? Everybody has their favorites. Everybody has kind of their styles that they like, and me personally, I consider myself a purist, but I love both boxers, man. I really do. Um, I do believe that Danny Garcia is a little bit more tested. A lot of people might disagree with me on that. Despite what you think about, his resume, whether or not you think he won certain fights or not, the fact of the matter is, in my eyes, that Danny Garcia has been in very deep waters before in multiple fights. Um, which leads me to kind of the ending of my video, and this isn't the end, but I'm just saying I might as well just jump straight to it. My prediction is honestly Danny Garcia to take this fight, and that's a tough decision to come to for me, simply because Keith Thurman is no joke, right? This is literally a 50-50 fight, man. And with the fights that are, coming up this weekend and some of the fights that have been announced like Kell Brook and Errol Spence, and of course you got Gennady Golovkin versus Danny Jacobs. Even the Tony Bellew and David Haye fight interests me. The Chavez and Canelo fight, which I'll touch on probably a little bit later. But a lot of good fights coming up. And I like to see, these boxers challenging themselves. It looks like Al Heyman is keeping to his word that the best will fight the best. So um, not that he has to do with all those fights. I'm just saying in general, starting with this Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman fight. But my prediction is that Danny may win on decision, and I can actually see a stoppage happening. And here's why. So going back to the resumes, first of all, again, Danny Garcia has been tested. Now he is moving up, so that is a variable. There are a lot of variables in this matchup, but at 140, he has an impressive resume. Again, despite what you believe, despite who you believe won those fights, very impressive resume. You're looking at what Amir Khan, Lamont Peterson, just to name a few. The one that really stuck out to me, and the one that really got me thinking, though, was the Matisse fight. And the reason being is because, I remember watching that fight. It was, on the Canelo, I think Mayweather undercard. But at the time, I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on the Mayweather, Canelo fight. I wasn't really a Danny Garcia fan at that time. But I knew who he was. Obviously knew who Lucas Matisse was at the time. But, I wasn't really focused on that fight. But really going back and diving in and just looking back at Danny Garcia's career, He's always been the underdog, it seems like, in these big matchups. He's always been that underdog. And so for him going into this fight where he's the underdog against another champion isn't new to him. And in that fight, he showed a lot of heart. He was in there with a big puncher, uh, and he was able to, come on strong in the later rounds. And so when it comes to this fight, the Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman fight, I feel like what it's going to look like is this. I think the first 3 to 4 rounds is going to look like the Keith Thurman show. I think you're going to see Danny really trying to find his distance. And more importantly, I think he's going to start to the body, right? We all know that Keith Thurman has shown that chink in the armor against, I think it was Soto Carras and Sean Porter, 2 times that he got hit to the body and showed tremendous weakness in that area. Danny Garcia is a pretty good body puncher, so I think the first couple of rounds you're going to see him winging for that body, jab into the body, really trying to find his hooks. I think you're going to see Keith Thurman really trying to circle around Danny. Danny is definitely the slower and less athletic of the two, but I think as the rounds wear on, if Keith Thurman's cardio is even remotely not in shape, he's going to slow down. And so what's going to end up happening is you're going to find these two fighters probably in the pocket a lot more. And that's where I think Danny Garcia is going to take it in the later rounds, maybe starting the fifth or sixth rounds. You're going to start to see him land some more vicious blows to the body. Both of these guys can punch. I think Danny Garcia has shown the better stamina, and I think he's in even better shape right now for this fight than he's ever been, simply because of diet changes, the move up in weight. He's probably not draining himself. He's always been a relatively big, junior welter, but moving up to welterweight. And I think that, I think his stamina is on point. He showed a great chin against Matisse, a big puncher. Um, and so, and then also in that fight, the Matisse fight, that is, I think one thing I really saw was Danny Garcia's ability to catch and shoot. And if you don't know what that is, that's essentially sitting in the pocket, right? Sometimes you'll see this often when fighters are along the ropes, but they're shelled up or they got their defense high, and every time that a fighter fires, punches, let's say it touches the elbow, he fires a combo back. It touches the guard up high, he fires the combo back, and I think he's the better in fighter. Sean Porter, who is not Danny Garcia by any means, or vice versa. They're both great fighters. I'm saying that they're not really comparable, but showed that Sean Porter showed that Keith Thurman does get very uncomfortable in close quarter combat, and loves his distance, and he's also showed that he can be rocked. And so I think that's why you've seen him get a little bit more uncomfortable the higher in the rankings he goes, or the better competition he goes. He's been more on his bicycle than he has been willing to sit and trade for the most part. So that's where I see Danny Garcia really having his key to victory. He's a great counter puncher. Keith Thurman is very, very fast, especially for his size at welter. But one thing that Conor McGregor says that I love is timing beats speed, precision beats power. I think I think what you're going to see is a battle of the right hook and left hook. I think you're going to see uh, Keith Thurman really trying to land that right, but Danny Garcia's left is what Keith Thurman has to watch out for. And so I see that Danny Garcia has a very good counter game. He did it against obviously Lucas Matisse. Obviously, he knocked out Amir Khan with it. And even though everybody talks about Amir Khan's chin, that's irrelevant. What I'm saying is his timing um, was there, and I would venture to say, and I think most people would agree, Amir Khan is a lot faster than Keith Thurman. So Keith Thurman will get hit. So like I said, I'm gonna keep this video short. Those are the reasons that I just see Danny Garcia taking it in the later rounds. I see, Keith Thurman possibly slowing down if Danny Garcia works that body, as I'm sure he will. And I also see a potential stoppage, which is, a really long shot to say. I could obviously be very wrong. I could be right, but all I'm saying is I see Danny Garcia having the experience. I think he has the counter punching ability. I think he's the better pocket, fighter, in fighter. Uh, I think his stamina is going to be there. I think he's very underrated. but he always shows up to win. He's been the underdog before, and I don't think he's going to succumb to the pressure of this fight. Not saying that Keith Thurman will. Again, I am a Thurman fan. I'm just going based off, if I have to choose a winner, that's who I'm choosing. If Keith Thurman were to win this fight, hey, I would be extremely happy for that man. He's come a long way and he's been looking for big fights. So I'm really, excited really for both of these fighters and the potential that it brings for them. But, I just, again, in lieu of trying to keep this video as short as possible, I'm already at 10 minutes. My prediction is going to be Danny Garcia. I'm going to say based on decision, but I definitely could see a stoppage. If Keith Thurman wins, I definitely think it has to happen within the first 4 rounds. Because after that, once Danny Garcia settles into the fight, then they're going to be in a dogfight. Even though he has the speed, like I said, he has some chinks in his armor. Danny Garcia's real chink is his lack of speed, but he has good timing to counter that. And I think his big fight experience is going to come into play here. One also variable that I think a lot of people don't really realize is, and I just randomly thought of this right now, but something I've thought about in the past is Danny Garcia's father in his corner. A lot of people don't realize, and I guess I'm thinking that now because I watched the Danny Garcia undefeated, Echo promo video. But with that being said, I think that a lot of people don't realize that when it comes to those late rounds, when you're tired and fatigued and your body's hurting and your mind starts to waver a little bit, I think Danny Garcia just has that one extra umph in his corner, which is his father. They are very close. I think he could, Angel Garcia is one of those guys that, he loves his son dearly, you can tell. He'll jump down anybody's throat for his son. And I think that having him in his corner is just a remarkable X factor that nobody really seems to consider. A lot of athletes, not just in combat sports, but athletes will tell you that, sports, the games that they play are 80% mental, if not more. I'm sure, many athletes will say a lot more. But, that mental factor, again, going into the later rounds, these championship fights, this big fight experience, plus having his father in his corner, I think are all just small variables that, again, people overlook. But anyways, again, that is my prediction. Other than that, guys, I just want to, thank you for checking out the video really quick. And go check out the website. A lot of new material coming up. Essentially, what I've been trying to do is just, post a lot of things that I find interesting, a lot of videos, a lot of articles. Shout out to my boy Vic from goldmines.com. He's one of my writers. He's out of Florida, 15-year-old dude, loves boxing. And so, him and I made an agreement, man. He can submit articles to me. Young dude, loves boxing again, but he did a quick keys to victory for Danny Garcia and Keith Thurman. So check that out. And yeah, we're going to leave it at that, man. Once again, this is your boy JU from goldmines.com. That's GOALEDMINDS.com. Check out the website. Follow us on Instagram. Please make sure you subscribe down below so you can get updates on new videos. I will be a lot more active. Beginning of the year was a little tough, with work and so on and so forth. But, now's the time, man. Boxing is looking great. I'm excited for the future of all combat sports. And, I'm going to try to stay tuned and just politic with you guys. Feel free to leave comments on the website on this video, anything you want to hear about, anything you think. And, like I said, man, at the end of the day, what I'm talking about in this video is just my opinion. Hate it or love it, I don't mind. I think you guys are definitely entitled to your opinion. So feel free to disagree. I'm okay with that. But other than that, man, I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.